Today we have some more goodies for you from our Bridgeway guide, and this is basically visual supports that I've been creating for a long time. When I just opened up this page, maybe 10 years ago I created this when I was very obsessive about theory of mind and perspective taking. But today we're going to look at some of the visuals in the perspective taking section. And this is just a checklist that parents and teachers can fill out. It's not a standardized measure, but it just helps you know how significant the perspective taking issues are. I believe there's 13 or so items on there. There's also a visual in here that's for adults to fill out, and it would be about themselves. So like, I display rigid thinking, I believe my thoughts are identical to others and the only way to think. So they would mark yes or no on that, and that's the first question. I argue that someone could not feel the way they describe that they feel because I would not feel that way if it were me. That is another section. If you've heard that, you might want to have your student or your child complete that checklist. So there's many more goodies on that. This visual, what we do is it says, I am thinking about you. And what we do is we would print this in cardstock, cut it in half, laminate it, and then I would have one copy of it and the person on the spectrum would have the other copy. And as I'm sitting there talking to that person, I just write down what it is that I'm thinking. And I try to be conscientious, to be kind or to be tactful when saying things. But the main use of that would be to show them that I'm thinking something very different than what they're thinking at the same time. So we want them to know that there's differing perspectives. In this section, there's also the thinking bubble sheets. And I would do the handwriting. Handwriting is an issue for a lot of my students. And so when you look at this, I don't want them to think that they have to do all the drawing or the writing, but I draw these really fancy stick people. It's like one circle and a line down. There's no arms, no legs. It's just the easiest way to do it for me. And so I do that here, and all it is that you would write what the person said and then what they were thinking. And what I really want all of our students with ASD to be able to do is to be able to accurately identify the other person's thoughts. And be on the lookout, because over the years, especially when I first start working with somebody on this skill, a lot of times kids will say that other kids have the same exact perspective as they do. And so if their thoughts are to have fun, that the other student's thoughts would be to have fun. Or it's the exact opposite. So if the student wanted to have fun, that the teacher did not want them to have fun. Instead of, the teacher's thoughts may have been that I want to keep my students safe, or I need to teach the course of study to my students. But we want to see that students have flexibility of thought, and this is the best visual to do that. But you have to make sure that you're focusing on the other person's thought bubble. And I don't think it's odd to ask the person what they're thinking. You may have to work on tone and timing of when to say it, so it's not like, what were you thinking? Or something like that. It's got to be said in the right direction. But this is a very, very helpful tool. I've been using this for probably 13 years. At the very bottom, if you want to fill this out, you don't have to, but it just says, how did my behavior affect others? I made them feel blank because blank. I should have blank because blank. And so you'd fill it in for that particular situation. And if you're looking for good data collection, this is great data collection. Make a whole binder of these things. Students that really need to work on this skill, it's not uncommon for us to have about 100 of these by the end of a school year. Obviously, you would need to talk through these things at low stress. In the moment when the incident is happening is not a good time to go over these. And that data collection, if you do a binder, is also great social skills teaching, to go back and look at things that have happened before and discuss those. I love this visual. So a more basic version of it would be more like comic strips, but what happened this time, there's a first, next, last. And what could I do next time, first, next, last? I've had whole grades that take this visual and they use it when kids are sitting out in recess to go over this. For some of your students, it's not going to provide enough detail. If we go back to this visual, where the breakdown usually is for students with perspective taking issues is this thought bubble right here. It's the other person's thoughts. And that isn't laid out the same way on this particular visual, but you've got to pick what works best for you. So that's just a couple of our visuals in that section. I hope that these are helpful to you.